At the age of 8, I fell off an 80-foot cliff. And due to the amnesia I experienced, I don't remember my life before the accident. Welcome to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of the Cool Songs Club. You can learn more about each of these at musicmotivation.com and www.coolsongsclub.com. Every weekly podcast is sponsored by various businesses, groups, associations, and organizations, and today's podcast is sponsored by my company, Music Motivation. In today's podcast, before I introduce my company and the music I compose and the poetry and motivational messages I write and share in my various self-help books, I'd like you to get to know me a little better. Every new weekly podcast comes out on Monday and follows this format. First, I do a welcome or introduction to each new podcast, and then I share a few perceptions I have, many of which have been taken from an inspirational book I wrote, titled Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. Then I will always share a motivation in a minute, a few minutes on a motivational topic, after which I will share the music within, and share one of the compositions I've composed from my various albums, EPs, and singles of original music I've created. You can listen to any of my music on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, Amazon, or any other streaming site or online music store. I also have music videos you can watch on my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Jerald Simon. Finally, I will share poetry that motivates, a poem I have written taken from one of the poetry books I've published. I'd like to introduce myself to you and tell you a little about myself and my company, Music Motivation. And as I mentioned, I'm a composer, author, poet, and entrepreneur. I live in Utah, in the USA, and have a beautiful wife, Suzanne, but I call her Zanny. And anyone who knows her calls her Zanny as well. We have 3 adorable children, a daughter, Summer, 13 years old, and 2 little boys, Preston, age 7, and Matthew, age 4. Zanny and I love our little family, and believe family comes first. Everything I do as a husband and a father is done for my sweet little family, and I love them, and I learn so much from each of them. At the age of 8, I fell off an 80-foot cliff. And due to the amnesia I experienced, I don't remember my life before the accident. I have a few fuzzy recollections of what happened the day I fell off the cliff, but I cannot remember anything before the fall. Here's what I do remember. The date was October 15th, 1988. I was 8 years old. We lived in Pleasant View, Utah, where my parents still live today. It was a Saturday, 1 week to the day after I had been baptized a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Sadly, I don't remember anything about my baptism because of the fall. My friend Aaron and my twin brother Josh and I were going exploring up the mountain behind our home. We arrived at our destination. We like to call the area Snake Pit, because it was full of snakes and other little creatures, perfect for little boys who loved adventures. Jutting out of the pit was an enormous rock cliff. After playing at the rocky base, looking for snakes and other treasures for a while, we decided to hike to the top of the cliff. As little boys seeking a thrill, we decided to race to the top to see who could get there first. Josh and Aaron decided to hike around to the top. I decided to climb the face of the cliff. I climbed most of the way up and was resting on a ledge when I heard voices above me. My twin and our friend had beaten me to the top. They began throwing rocks for fun to see who could throw them farther. I looked up as one of those rocks hit me on the chest and knocked me off the ledge. That is as much as I remember. I was knocked unconscious when I landed. I have been told that our friend ran home to my parents' house to tell them what had happened. My parents raced up the mountain to come find us. In the meantime, my twin brother, Josh, came down the mountain and found my body. He did not know what to do and sat beside me. He then lifted my head into his lap and tried to put my head back together. One side of my scalp had been completely ripped open, and he was trying to hold the two sides together. To this day, he can't speak of the experience without tearing up. It was traumatizing, to say the least. He was wearing a yellow shirt that soon became covered with my blood as he tried to hold my head together. He tried to do everything he could think of to try and save me. My mother was the first adult on the site. She thought I was dead and was understandably shocked and hysterical at the scene. It took quite a while for the paramedics to arrive because they had to hike up the hill with their stretcher and climb over various fences along the way. When they arrived, they loaded me on the stretcher and carried me down the mountain, where they loaded me into an ambulance. The paramedics surmised that I had fallen off the cliff and then bounced off one or two ledges on the way down because my body was bruised and black and blue from the waist up. Though my body was badly bruised, I did not have any broken bones. If I had fallen straight down from 80 feet, I believe I most surely would have died on impact. The paramedics continued to work on me when I was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I was unconscious through all of this. I do remember opening my eyes in the ambulance and seeing my father sitting above me, along with the first responders. It is a split-second image I have in my mind where my father, through tears, said everything would be all right before I passed out again. The doctors had to insert 26 staples in my head to keep it together. I do not remember anything about the stay at the hospital at all. I do remember riding in a wheelchair as I was leaving the hospital and having a cast-like bandage on my head. Other than that, I do not remember anything about the fall, my ride to the hospital, or even what happened to me at the hospital. It is all blank, either because of the trauma or the experience of the seriousness of the injury. After I fell, the doctors told my parents I would recover, but after going home from the hospital, I began having seizures over the next few weeks. I returned to the hospital to undergo CAT scans and other tests to see if there was any lasting damage because of the trauma my body had experienced with the fall. It was a long healing process, but I did indeed recover. It is a miracle I am alive. Much of what has motivated me and pushed me forward in life is based on what I tell my children almost daily. When we fall down, we get back up. If you say the first part to my children, when we fall down, they all automatically respond with, we get back up. This encompasses not only physical falls, but mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and all different kinds of falls. After my fall from the cliff, I resolved that each day would be a new birth for me, regardless of how many times I would fall down, both literally and metaphorically. It helped me see that life is precious. It is a gift, and it should be cherished. It helped me to evaluate my priorities and focus more intently on what matters most. Now, I believe we don't need to fall off a cliff to get sense knocked into us. But we all need to continually have reminders and even wake-up calls that help us refocus our energy into the best life has to offer us. We all fall down, metaphorically, and make mistakes. We may do poorly on a school or work assignment. As a result, we may feel we don't measure up. We may feel like failures. As parents, we may worry that others criticize us. We might feel depressed and even apathetic toward life. At times, we may feel unsure, insecure, afraid, and doubt our own abilities, potential, and future. What must happen when we fall down emotionally, spiritually, financially, and even socially? We must get back up. We can. And we must. Now, obviously, when I climbed the face of that cliff as an 8-year-old child, I did not have any rock climbing experience. I did not have any safety gear or ropes and harnesses, and apparently, I did not have any brains to think about the consequences of my decision. I think that is how life can be for each of us at times. We may jump into something without having the needed experience, gear, or tools, and even the brains to think about future consequences of our daily decisions. With all of that being said, though, we know that life brings with it both the ups and the downs. Some are caused by our foolish or unwise decisions, and others come through no fault of our own. It is not what happens to us, but what we decide to do each day with the choices that come our way. We all will fall down in life at various times and in various ways. Some may be more traumatic and devastating for us, others won't. Some of these falls will, if we let them, potentially destroy us because of how we respond to these tragedies. There is good and bad in everything. Did I experience great pain from the fall? Yes, absolutely. Was I teased and made fun of by school students with the head casts and bandages I had to wear during my 2nd grade year? Yes. Did I lose all of my memories I had made from previous years because I could no longer remember anything I had done before I was 8? Yes. Am I grateful to be alive after my fall and to have survived something that I most likely could have and should have died from? Yes. But what have I learned? When I fall down, I can always get back up. I have met individuals who have had similar experiences, but because of their falls or accidents, they became paralyzed or had other serious life-altering changes to them physically, mentally, and emotionally as well. Yet through it all, these great men and women live exemplary lives. Some have even told me they cannot compare the way they are today with the way they were before their accident because they are two different people. Of course, the ones who are paralyzed or seriously debilitated cannot do what they once could do, but they have learned new skills. They have developed new talents and have become new individuals. They, like I do, see the world anew. They are not any better or worse than they were before, but they, as I have determined to see each new day as a fresh start, clean from the imperfections and mistakes of the past. It's a life-changing experience, but it changes the way we see the world and the way we treat others. Now, I personally have learned to continually strive to be my best and do my best. I'm not perfect, but I have learned that life is precious. And even the perceived imperfections in my life can seem a little more perfect if I change my perspective and attitude. It's more than what I can physically see. It has everything to do with what I don't see, but hope to see, and optimistically believe I can see. You see, the fall has changed the way I view problems. It has helped me look at everyone as a powerful force of potential and possibility. I hope to bring out the best in everyone and try to do so because every day is filled with hopes and possibilities. I have tried not to be too hard on myself when I do fall down in any of the many ways I can fall down in life. I know there are times I will struggle and even stumble. I know it is part of life. And the stepping stones of success we are searching for in life are also intermixed with steps of failure, weakness, struggles, suffering, pain, and sorrow. These may be setbacks in life, but they can, if we allow them, become some of our greatest stepping stones toward success. It is not about how we fall, why we fall, or when we fall. It is all about what we do after we fall. You see, when we fall down, we get back up. That is my hope. That is my faith in humanity. Whatever trials we may face today, whatever calamities may come tomorrow, we will know we can have the strength to get back up when life pushes us down. Now that I've shared a little about my past, I'd like to share some perceptions found on page 10 of my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. Let me read a few of these perceptions from my book. Here's the first one. What do you really want to do with your time? What is your mission in life? Where have you been and where would you like to go? Are you spending your time wisely? Are you taking advantage of every opportunity that comes your way? What are your dreams, your hopes, your wishes? If you could do anything in the world, what would it be? What are your talents? What are your aspirations? What brings you happiness? What kind of a life would you like to live? Do you enjoy what you do? If not, why not? Now that's more of a question and less of a perception. But those questions are questions we need to ask ourselves every day. Let me read this. Be certain of the uncertainties in life. No matter how much you think you know, continually think about how much more you ought to and could know. Work on what you don't know. Search for knowledge. Don't just think about it. Actively seek it. Knowledge empowers you with the ability to empower others. Share your knowledge with others. Help others improve and become better. And this is the last perception I'd like to read to you today from this book. It says this. Don't tell me you're not good at something. People will always be better and worse than you at everything you do. Tell me whether or not you are making progress. If you are progressing, are you measuring your progress? If you are not progressing, why not? Get to know your strengths and your weaknesses. Develop your own strengths. Develop your own personal progress plan and determine how you could improve and progress from where you are. You most likely don't know how far you have come and how much you truly have accomplished. Improve and progress. Now, I wrote those perceptions from that book to help motivate and inspire others. They are thoughts that I have thought about. But you see, I want everyone to continually think about how they can improve. See, we all are a work in progress. No one is perfect. It does not matter who you meet. Everyone has flaws. But we should learn to embrace our flaws. We should learn how to improve day by day, but not worry about improving. See, there's a fine line where we need to accept ourselves as we are. We need to be okay with our strengths and our weaknesses. We should not try to be something we're not. We should not try to expect others to be what they are not. In life, we have the opportunity to be happy, to be content. Happiness is not about attainment. It's the very essence of being and becoming. Our motivation in a minute thought for the week is simple. Be your best, do your best. Now that needs no explanation. We know when we have done the very best we can do. It may not be better than those around us. Our best may not be our neighbor's best, but we know when we have done our best. And likewise, we know when we have not done our best. If there is room for improvement, we can be the judge. If we know that we slacked off, that we did not give it our all, we can improve and progress and be better. Everyone can. Right now, I would like to have you listen, as part of the Music Within, to a piece that I composed in 2008 titled Triumphant. This was inspired by the Olympics at the time, and what I had seen is the camaraderie of these amazing athletes all over the world uniting, each one competing, but each one helping those around them, cheering each other on. They were a strength to each other. And so Triumphant, I actually composed this thinking of athletes, especially runners. So let me play for you Triumphant. I'm on the piano and the keyboards, and then I have various musicians playing the string instruments, playing the guitars, drums, the bass. My friend Michael Gibbons was the one who mixed and mastered the entire single of Triumphant, and he is also the guitarist that you will hear playing the acoustic guitar parts and the electric guitar part, and he is phenomenal. Let's listen to this. So that is Triumphant. It has kind of a soundtrack, score-like feeling and quality about it. It was set with a rhythmic pulse to help keep runners on that runner's high, to keep them going. The bass has that steady eighth note feeling about it, where it has that movement. It creates momentum. And I wanted that to happen so that runners, or anyone who needed a little pick-me-up, could listen. They could feel the intensity of Triumphant. So I would love to have you listen to my other music. You can listen on Spotify. You can listen to my music on Pandora. It's also available on iTunes, Amazon, any of the streaming sites and services, and also any of the online music stores. Just type in my name, Jerald Simon, Jerald Simon. Now, to end our podcast today, I would like to share poetry that motivates. Every week I will be sharing a new poem. And this poem for this week is Act As If. It's a poem I wrote from my first poetry book, Act As If, Motivational Poetry. That is a poetry book that features 222 motivational poems I have written. Let me read this poem to you, and then I'll explain why I wrote it. Act as if. Act as if you are confident, even if you are not. Confidence, you will find, is a state of mind, the fulfillment of attitude evolving with time. True confidence is a trait of character, not a boastful or prideful talk. Always act with sincere humility, then with true confidence you will walk. Act as if you are affluent, even when you're the beggar in need. Wealth you will find will often leave you behind, if its attainment will make you unkind. True wealth is not measured with money, but with love and knowledge and health. Act as if you're the least of all men, and then you shall find true wealth. Act as if you are noble, even if your nobility's numb. Act as if you are a servant, even if your own kingdom has come. When you act as if, you are foretelling your fate. Your future is already known. Act as if it is possible, and the seeds of fulfillment are sown. As I wrote this poem, and I wrote this several years ago, this book, The As If Principle, Motivational Poetry, was actually published in 2012 initially, and then republished in 2016. And I wrote this first poem in the book, I believe back in 2010. Now, when I wrote this, I was thinking of acting positive, acting optimistic, acting upbeat, acting intelligent. It's not about faking it until you make it. It's about seeing what qualities and characteristics you would like to have or possess, and then assuming those roles. If you want to be confident, and you need more confidence, it's a trait, it's a character. It is not something that you fake. You can't fake confidence. True confidence is not about being boastful. It's not about being prideful. See, true confidence accompanies humility. And so that's why in the line I say, always act with sincere humility. Then with true confidence, you will walk. I said, true wealth is not measured with money, but with love and knowledge and health. Act as if you're the least of all men, and then you shall find true wealth. Now, of course, that has some biblical references about act as if you're the least of all men. It is about seeing those around you and realizing that we are all the same. We are all a family. Brothers and sisters. You may not think of it like that, but everyone around us, our neighbors, our peers, friends, acquaintances, we all share the same DNA. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. We all have good days, we all have bad days. Everyone does. So we can act more confident in knowing that everyone around us is in the exact same situation and they have similar circumstances that we personally have. Now, everyone is different. Everyone has their own unique problems, but everyone has problems. Everyone has ups and everyone has downs. But we can help each other out. When we personally are down and out, someone can be there to strengthen us, to help us, to lift us up in our darkest days. And that is why I wrote that. So, in closing, I just want to thank everyone for listening. This is my very first podcast, music, motivation, and more. And I'm excited to come out with a new podcast every Monday. You can think of these podcasts as your Monday motivator, and I hope they inspire you to do your best and be your best and make the most of every minute you have today and every day this week. Life is what you make it, so make your life a masterpiece. Have a wonderful week. Smile all the while and be happy. Do your best and continually strive to do better and be better. We are all in this together and can help each other when life gets tough, when days seem dark and tough times come. But always remember, if you fall down in life, know that you can always get back up. We all can. I look forward to sharing my music, motivation, and more with you each week. Thanks again for taking some time out of your schedule to listen to my podcast. Until next time, keep up the great work. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this podcast on music, motivation, and more. I'm so grateful for your support and for taking the time to listen to this podcast. You can learn more about my music and various books I've published by visiting my website, www.musicmotivation.com. My music is available on Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, iTunes, and can be found on all online music stores and streaming sites. My motivational books and poetry books can be purchased on Amazon, from Barnes & Noble, various online bookstores, and also traditional bookstores as well. I release weekly videos on my YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Jerald Simon. You can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Jerald Simon. If you'd like to, you can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and most social media sites. If you'd like to learn more about motivating and inspiring piano students, please visit my website, www.coolsongsclub.com, to learn how and why I began composing what have become known as fun, cool songs. These cool songs were composed to help motivate piano students the fun way, especially during their teenage years. So I hope you check it out. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about anything. My contact info is found on my website, www.musicmotivation.com. But I would love to connect with you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I try to respond to as many questions as I can, and I may answer some on this podcast, or I can email you personally, but I try to respond to as many people as I can. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. Thank you again for listening. Hope you guys have a great week. See ya.